Everybody, welcome back to Ill Communication, the illest interview show around, where I interview amazing humans and we talk about all the things. Today I am joined by AHEE.
What's up, aliens?
AKA Chris, fantastic producer. We're doing a show together. We share a booking agent, Greg Sober, and we are doing a show in Denver really soon. But I'm a huge fan, and I've had him on the show before, and he's got a new record and lots of cool stuff to share. And then this is Ryan, who is one of our dojo members who's come to pay visits to the HQ.
All respects, all love.
And hang out, and I just thought we'd have a little chat and a little catch up. So, Chris, AHEE, thank you so much for taking the time.
Remember our last one was at Shambhala?
Yes.
You know, that was the last time we did the show together.
Which you'll notice he pronounced correctly. No Shambhala. Yeah, he said it right. Say it right, people. Say it right.
People not say it right?
Yeah, well, you hear people say Shambhala.
Shambhala.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. You guys, come on.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, so I was really, really impressed by your new record.
Thank you.
As was Greg. And when Greg heard it, he called me up pretty much immediately.
Really?
And he was like, "Oh my God, this record is so good. I got to get this guy. What do you think?" And I was like, "Of course, dude. Of course."
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. But yeah, we were really really impressed with the record. And I mean, there's like I've been a fan of your music since the Lucent Dossier days. Of course.
I've gotten better. I feel like
it's true, you have.
Yeah.
But tell us about Ghost Angel. Like, tell us about what how you feel about the record.
Well, it's definitely like it's the record I put the most thought into in a while. Not just like oh, what am I technically going to do? But what's the story I'm trying to tell with my life, and like what are the emotions I'm feeling right now, and how can I put them into the music? And I feel like it was very inspired by. Well, like sort of a traumatic event that happened in my life just prior to the start of it, which was the AHEE fires.
Yeah.
That we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, that was wild. For those of you who don't live in California and maybe don't watch the news, there are these crazy fires in the north last year that just wiped out so much and so many houses.
There's been a lot of fires here in California recently, but this one was in the December of 2017, and I basically we were living on a hippie commune out there, and it was great, awesome. But then the fire came through and just like burned a lot of things, and I just began thinking like, what if I had lived my life and that's where it ended? And like, would I have been satisfied with how I'd expressed myself in the world? And that, I think, was a big impetus of like where the energy of this album came from, of me like having my remark of what I think about the world and the state of the world currently. And like one of the songs on there we were talking about is called Too Much Facebook. And
it's a great song. You should definitely check it out. Too Much Facebook by AHEE.
Yeah,
it's a jam.
It feels like that feeling. I feel like we've all experienced this. Have you ever like been on Facebook for too long?
Oh man, yeah.
Right?
Like a little zombie.
Like you're just like mindlessly scrolling through, and like I dislike that, but I found myself in that situation multiple times.
And it's designed to be addictive, right?
I know, right?
Like teams of psychologists.
They even confess about it too. They like kind of boast about how it they already knew what it would do, how it'd be an addiction.
And like they don't let their own kids use the things that they create.
That's right.
You know, and so like I was frustrated, and how do I express this feeling? Because it's like you can't really. I'm not so much of a, I don't express myself lyrically, and so how do I express it, through music and through sound, and how do I capture that feeling in sound? And so basically the song itself was my attempt to express my internal feeling of like being on Facebook for too much, and as a way for me to see it and reflect upon it and be like, hopefully get over it.
Yeah, you can feel it, like the anxiety and then
Yeah.
the unplugging, like the tension and release of the track is
Yeah.
like, yeah, it comes across, man.
Yeah.
It comes across, and I've always felt that like the best music and the music that is timeless comes from saying something about your emotional life, and transcending the interface level where you're just like, hey, look what I can do with the computer and synthesizers, like, aren't I skillful?
Yeah.
I find that like, if that's the message of your music, it's kind of like, well, 5 years from now when everyone's got fancier shit.
Yeah, right?
Whatever, right?
That's a big takeaway.
But I remember I was at university and I was doing office hours with Jordan Peterson, and I was handing in this paper, and he was like, read my paper, and he was like, hey, Dylan, you seem to be an expert in most people. And I was like, what? And he was like, did you go to the Institute of Most People and get your degree in most people?
I can hear him talking.
Yeah, and I was like, well, no. And he's like, yeah, you're right. You're not an expert, and here you are with all these unqualified opinions about most people that just aren't worth anything in the academic environment. And he's like, but what you are the world's de facto leading expert on is your emotional reaction to this text. Like, tell us about your feelings, tell us about your reactions, and you can never be wrong, even in an academic format. And although that was talking about writing a paper, when you apply it to writing music, it's like you can definitely do things technically wrong, but if you're expressing a legitimate, like, nugget of emotion, nugget of human experience from your life, I feel that's really where the best music comes from, and that's really where artists go from being good, i.e. better than the person next to them, to achieving like actual greatness, And I feel like that album, I mean, to me, it was just an obvious breakthrough, and
For me, it felt like it, yeah. But yeah, thank you for saying that, because it is such a big thing to make music, and then to express yourself through music. Those are sort of two different things, and I've made so much music, and I've expressed myself through music, and I feel like I went through early phase where I was just super creative but didn't know the technical aspects, and then I was determined to learn all the technical aspects, and then it sort of took away from my creative focus, and then when I shifted back to the creative focus and expressing my internal feelings, but with the history of knowing how to produce things.
Well, you have to learn the technical side. Like,
Yeah.
you're going to inevitably have to make music
Yeah.
that is focused on technique, so that you can learn those techniques in the context of music and finishing things.
Yeah, but after it became like almost like second nature, I could approach the things that I wanted to express way quicker, and actually have them come across how I wanted them to,
Right.
More accurately than, in my earliest years of making music.
That's so cool. So one thing that you said that I think has really stuck with me is that, what led to that evolution and what led to that breakthrough was really, the fires made you feel the inevitability of your own mortality.
Yeah.
And it really made you feel that time was running out. Time could have just run out on you. And for me, when I had my big like emotional breakthrough that led to me like, becoming a real artist and not just like a musical technician, and really like evolving, like I was meditating in a graveyard, because my park was full of crackheads, right? So I would go.
What an imagery!
And just looking at these broken, illegible tombstones from like 100 years ago, or like nobody's visiting these graves, and they're just there. Nobody really remembers or cares who these people are, and just knowing that like someday that'll be me, and it's like you can follow all the rules and play it safe and do what you're told and blah 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 blah, but at the end, like, none of that really matters, you know. When you realize
In the end, it doesn't really. Love that guy.
But yeah, and I've, you know, when people, like, I don't often say it in interviews because it's like kind of weird and I guess would come across as morbid, but for me, the greatest like liberation and the greatest like breakthrough kind of emotionally was really meditating on death and meditating on the preciousness of your life and the preciousness of your time. And you know, you can't take any of that money with you when you go to the next world, but you know, you can look back on your time and say, you know, did I spend this in a way that I do not regret? Did I make a life that I can review in my memory?
Did you make a good impact on other people?
Yeah. So, you know, I was just hoping that you know, we can maybe talk, like, if you have any words to say about that or any.
Yeah, I also feel like you mentioned, like, it can be a morbid topic, like talking about death, but also like in the feeling of it, I have this idea in my head. I'm trying to figure out how to express it. It's like, yes, like it's important to recognize like your own mortality, but also to, within that, also understand that you can create joy within the time that you have alive, you know, and to like seize upon that opportunity, you know, because like I don't just like making sad music. I also make really happy music sometimes.
It's I think a more impressive achievement to make happy music. Honestly, like happy music often comes off as like trite or inane, and when you can make something
it's
that
easy
really
to make
brings people joy and like doesn't sound trite, it's like I'm so impressed. You know.
Yeah, and so like there's just so many ranges of emotion that you can capture, and to just recognize like, this is your time to do it. Like, this is, if you're to capture anything, this is your time to capture it.
Right.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Or capture or encapsulate it. You know, it's like songs are almost like what are those things that you like they bury in buildings and you
Time capsule.
Time capsule.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like music is like the time capsule for your soul or your expression or who you are.
Waiting for you to open it back up.
Which is why I find the songs that, for me in my own discography, when I listen to the songs that bear repeated listening over the years, it's often the ones that have like field recordings from my life, and I know that, like, you know, I made that riser from my dog barking and she's dead now, and like I hear that song and I remember my dog, and like, or you know, like the sounds of my kitchen, or you know, that squeaky door hinge on the way into the studio or whatever, and like, you know, I find that, you know, those songs, because they're, you know, a time capsule, a snapshot of my life, a snapshot of my emotions, those are the ones that I feel really have lasting value, you know. So let's we were talking earlier about some of the kind of other moments in your evolution as a producer that really, you know, like realizations that you'd come to that really helped you to progress and helped you to evolve. I was hoping you could perhaps share one of those with us.
Well, definitely the fire thing was definitely a big component in my emotional approach to making music. But beyond that, I feel like the technical aspects were really the game changers for me, in the sense that, like, I felt like I've never really had a problem expressing myself, but I always had a problem expressing myself in a way that was palatable to other people.
Yeah.
You know?
Those are two very different things.
Yeah,
very different
exactly.
Things.
And because I am an artist, I want to share what I make with other people. I have done plenty of things where it's just for myself and I don't care what other people think, because those things are for me. But then I also like to make things that other people can enjoy, because there is I don't know, something really lasting, and it's, I don't know how to describe it, but it's so satisfying to see other people being able to enjoy something with you.
Yeah, that unity. Within it all.
But the things that really changed for me technically was, one, when I learned how to compare the spectrum of my tracks with other people's tracks, but not in a way of me trying to exactly duplicate what they're trying to do, but to reach an average that sounds like on average comparable to what they're trying to do. So I was using Voxingo Span.
Yeah, it's excellent. And Voxingo Span, there's a free version and a paid version, and the free version is great. You know, so go.
I still use the free version.
check
I bought
out.
it. I still use the free version.
Yeah, it's. I mean, there's actually a couple extra features in the paid
Yeah.
version, but yeah, Voxingo Span is excellent. That whole A/B comparing using visualizers thing
Yeah.
is like such a excellent self-education tool.
Watching hundreds of other producers' tracks that I look up to, like through there, and also watching other tracks and genres I don't necessarily listen to, and also just generally listening to music beyond genres that I would normally feel comfortable in, I think was another big part of it, because like I've been enjoying making like trap beats, but in the context of a house song. So it's like a house song with a trap beat drop or something like that, and to know the mathematical like ratio or like the positions of the kicks and the snares to translate it from one BPM into another one. For some people, it's not as intuitive.
Yeah.
I've found when teaching other people.
Especially drum and bass. When people who are
Yeah.
not drum and bass producers are like, I'm just gonna make drum and bass. There's
Yeah.
so much that you're missing
Yeah.
about like the construction of those kits and the beats. There's just so much
Yeah.
subtlety.
Just think, speed it up, and that's it. You got drum and bass.
No,
Yeah.
it's not that simple, and so another thing that I teach when I do classes is how to steal other people's beats. I always put "steal" in quotation marks.
What's the quote? Is
Good artist borrows,
yeah,
great
good
artist
artist
steal.
borrow, great artist steal. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
good
and
one.
so I spend so much time recreating other people's tracks. I never release them. I released one of an EPROM track recently, which he actually messaged. Like he commented on my YouTube video, being like, "You did a great job! Like you just missed this one thing of like." It's running his drum track through a spring reverb and hitting the actual physical string like a few times in the song.
Yeah, you got to do that when you have a physical string reverb. If you're not like
Yeah.
playing it with a coin or smacking it around a bit,
Yeah.
it's like, what's the point?
And so it made me think about processing digital sounds in the physical world more, which is something I want to do more in my upcoming music. But I actually used to do a lot of it. One of my favorite sounds I've ever captured was it was on accident.
Happy accidents.
Happy accidents.
Happy accidents. Very important.
Yeah, so I have been obsessively recording things. I used to record things on cassette tape as like
Nice.
a 16, 17-year-old. And we would drag glass like along concrete, like or just whatever. And I think it's one of those sounds, or maybe us singing or like goofing off with friends as a 17-year-old. But I went to college and left this cassette tape in my windowsill of my bedroom, of my childhood bedroom, for 4 years.
And it just
or no,
cooked.
3 years. 3 years. And so 3 years it cooked in the sun.
And was
so,
it getting cold too?
I assume so. It was in
Yes.
Texas, so like the weather.
Overnight.
The weather changes fairly drastically in North Texas, in Dallas, where I was growing up. So so it was just being beaten weather-wise. Not water on it, but like just heat and cold. And so 3 years later, I was like, oh, I accidentally left this tape here. I went back to play it, and it was magic. Like,
so
just
cool.
like every sound in there, I was just like, it's degraded. And also, I talked to one of the producers from 100 Waters. And
I love their music. They're so
and he
great.
talked about, when I told him that story, he got all excited because he was like, he recorded a bunch of synths onto a cassette tape and actually lightly baked it in an oven.
Well.
And then like he didn't like melt the plastic. He put
Yeah,
it on
just a little bit. Just a little
he
bit.
said he had to be careful with it.
Yeah.
You know.
Like Snoop Dogg with his blunts in a microwave, just like 10 seconds, put it in there.
And then he said like that's how he got the signature sound for
That's so
whatever
cool.
song that he was talking about. And so like processing digital sounds in the physical world was a interesting thing for me, because it's like I feel like it's so easy to just be all digital nowadays.
Oh, and it's like, it just sounds like like there's this texture of the perfection, and like all the oscillators in perfect tuning, and like everything's just so hi-fi that it all kind of fights. And I always, I've been telling people since the beginning that sounds in a composition don't go because they're the same. They work together because they're different.
Contrast, yeah.
And it's like, just ask yourself, like, what do all these sounds have in common, and how can I do the opposite? And when everything is like digital, VST, computer, perfect, it's like flattens out, and just that little bit of like a microphone, or like, a hardware synth that's a little bit out of tune, or an instrument with like a crappy, like bent up strings or whatever, like it just makes a huge difference.
There's a difference between bad and good bad.
Yes. Yes, and only you have the power to tell.
And sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
And you need a friend. And then sometimes you just need to change your perspective. Like, we've all had that experience of like making something late at night and being like, oh my God, this is amazing. And you hear it in the morning, you're like, oh, what was I doing?
Yeah.
I've made plenty of bad songs.
Yeah, that's a part of it. That's a part of it. We all have. That's a part of it.
Or is it just your change of perspective on the song that makes it good or bad?
Well, yes, and also just like
That feeling?
yeah, it's like the sound has to evoke something. I feel like those are the sounds I really like. That the sound actually like triggers me to like have an emotional response.
Well, and when you have an emotional response, it's like a true emotional response. I feel that comes from a level of mind that is beyond the rational mind, and is beyond what you can name with language. And it's like, you can try and kind of reverse engineer it with language and think about why it makes you feel what you feel, but ultimately the causes and dynamics of those reactions are so visceral that there's, you can only just guess after it happens, and really cultivating your sensitivity at that level is so important, because the temptation when you're starting is to you don't want to do anything wrong. You don't want people to make fun of you, so you go look up how to do it and you read about how to do it, and then you're trying to construct music only from the level of the rational mind. And it's like your language, like as soon as you name an object, you're dealing with a concept and not an object anymore. And it's the same thing with your emotional response. Is that when you're writing from the rational mind, you're not connecting to that subtlety of feeling, and you're not connecting to the true core of your being, where the timeless music comes from.
But I feel like it's important to have like almost the rational be in the back seat. I felt like my earliest music, it's just so raw, and like some of it's super emotional, but just like the execution of it is muddy,
Yeah, and bad execution can invalidate a track.
Yeah.
It can, even if it is coming from an authentically emotional place. Like there are mistakes you can make.
Yeah.
There are.
And mistakes particularly that involve playing on large speaker systems.
Yeah.
Because that's where the science comes in, because like you can make a song that sounds good on laptop speakers, but is a whole nother ball game when you get to large sound systems.
Well, that's why I always tell people that it's good to monitor quiet. It's good to do your leveling and mixing quietly. You get a more valid sort of response. But if you never blare that shit to the point of ear pain, you'll never know where the harshness is and address those harsh frequencies that are going to ruin it on a big sound system. Like at some point during the process, you must listen very loud.
I try to always play the tracks out in a live setting, because it's not only that. It's not just like I have to gauge people's emotional and like physical reaction to the song too, because I've made some songs where I'm like, this is mixed great, I love the thing, but then when I play it out live, it doesn't do the thing.
Yeah.
And then I've done other songs where I play it out live where I'm like, the mix is a little weird on this one.
Yeah, sometimes people like shit you'd never expect them to like. You're like, this track? Really? You love this one?
Yeah, and then I play it out and people go, and you're just like, oi, I'm into it. You know, I feel it. Okay,
Right.
and to like add that as part of your compositional process towards a final product. Like I admire Skrillex for that because it took him years to put out those songs that he just put out. Ping Pong, or it used to be called Ping Pong. It's called Fuji Opener now.
Oh, it's great.
You
That
know,
song's-
like that. He's been playing that song out for
And Moon by
years.
Power is such an awesome
Yeah.
tune. That was my favorite off of
Yeah,
the show.
I love.
Yeah, Moon
I
by Power is
love both
great.
of them
Yeah.
so much. But like he'd been playing those songs.
Hi,
out.
Sonny, if you're watching, we love you.
Oh man, and so that process of like being like, no, this isn't ready yet. I think that there's that should be a part of that's part of my compositional process now, aiming towards a final product.
I actually heard like secondhand this great quote from G. Jones, and he said, "I'll spend over a year perfecting a beat that I made in an afternoon."
Yeah.
I was like, "That's amazing! We all do that, or at least
Yeah.
if you know what you're doing, you do that."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey, okay, so before we go, any advice for our viewers? I'm sure a lot of them are music producers, and they're all going through the struggle, the lonely struggle of getting over the hump. Any advice for our music producing friends out there?
One, know that it's okay to be frustrated. We've all experienced it, man.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that's good advice for me because I'll be throwing shit in my studio.
Yeah, I get really mad.
Yeah.
You know how they say it's not over till the fat lady sings? When I'm working on a track, it's not over till I hate myself. At least once during the process, I have to hate myself and be like, what even is this? Am I even a musician? You know, like
Oh,
you
man.
have to have that.
We're
feeling.
artists. We're creative. You know, we're going to be subject to the craze of the moon. You know, or you know that thing where
Superstitious,
you know, it's like, you know, we're emotional creatures. That's okay. You know, it's okay to be a part of the process. That and YouTube college.
Yeah. Watch your tutorials on 1.5 times speed. I started doing that, and I get so many more tutorials in now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, YouTube, you can crank up the speed. And then we have it on the Dojo website, too, so you can crank up the speed.
I just started a YouTube channel as well.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, I'm starting to do tutorials on there.
Where can people find you?
If you just type in AHEE on YouTube, I'll show up, official AHEE.
Okay, cool. And it's like that on pretty much everywhere, like official AHEE or AHEEs?
Yeah,
across the board?
AHEE, I show up everywhere.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So yeah, be sure to check out AHEE. Be sure to check out his most recent album, Ghost Angel. It's a fantastic piece of work, and I know it will make your life better to listen to it. All right, thanks a lot for joining us, guys.
Yeah,
it's
thanks for
movie
having us.
night, so we're going to go watch a movie. Peace out, everybody. Thanks
Peace,
for
aliens.
watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more.